Mach Go Go Go, or Speed Racer, as it's widely known in the Western world, started with a manga known as Pilot Ace from 1960 to 1964. It would eventually become a prototype to Mach Go Go Go, and later in 1967 would be turned into an anime, all created by Tatsuo Yoshida, and dubbed into Speed Racer in the same year. It's about an 18-year-old race car driver named Go Mifune, or Speed Racer, who gets roped into stopping many zany antics with his souped-up race car, including, but not limited to, death races in the Alps, international espionage, attempted assassinations, personal conflicts, petty crimes, and of course, worst of all, bad faith race car driving. The show had a villain of the week format, but wasn't serialized, having a cohesive story wrapped through several dispersed episodes, involving Go Mifune's older brother, Kenichi Mifune, or Rex Racer, who is also known as...
Meanwhile, in the harbor of a distant city, a secret meeting is about to be held secretly. This is Racer X.
The original series would meet an end in 1968, but would be continued on after the rights to Speed Racer were sold to a company known as Speed Racer Enterprises in the 80s with a comic run by Now Comics, and then a new cartoon in the 90s titled The New Adventures of Speed Racer, which would also be turned into a series of comics. However, after that, another anime was produced by Tatsunoko, Tatsuo Yoshida's production company, typically called Mach Go 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 Restart, albeit it's really Shin Mach Go Go Go, or, New Mach Go Go Go, or just simply Mach Go Go Go. After these, there are more comics, a web series from 2006 called Speed Racer Lives, a show made by Tetsuo Yoshida's daughter known as Mach Girl in 2008, a live-action movie in 2008 directed by the Wachowskis. We're going to talk about that one soon. A cartoon in 2008 called Speed Racer The Next Generation, an animated movie from 2016 known as Speed Racer Race to the Future. Now that that's out of the way, I personally prefer to start with the positives. So what makes the Wachowskis' Speed Racer a good live-action anime adaptation? This is probably one of the most important steps to making a good adaptation of literally anything. An adaptation made by someone who isn't a fan, at best, or hates the original, will likely be divisive at best, or downright absolute horrible, at worst. However, it is clear to me that the Wachowskis seem to have at least some general appreciation for both anime in general and Speed Racer as an anime. There are many references, callbacks, and tiny details that make this pretty blatant. I will come back to this topic, because I do have my criticisms in this area, but they did get one of the most important themes of the show, family, which the J.J. Abrams script from the 90s can't say it has. As much as the small details can be important, the biggest flaw that most live-action anime adaptations have is that they're just bad movies, or TV shows in general. Of course, there are exceptions, like Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon from 2003, or apparently Gatchaman from 2013, according to people who've never actually watched Gatchaman. Speaking about hyped-up live-action adaptation of anime they've never watched, let's talk about what's wrong with Speed Racer 2008. Trixie. Headstrong, sassy, feminine, graceful. All things that come to mind when I think of Shimure Michi. So what's she like in 2008 Speed Racer? Well, she's kind of like Ramona Flowers, but less sarcastic and more bubbly. She's still kind of got that authoritative personality, but something about her is just super watered down to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's a great adaptation of Trixie, I didn't see it that way. Racer X. Look, I'm not saying his characterization here is bad, because that part's actually fine. It's the story that bothers me. Racer X, or The Masked Racer's original story was about him growing as a person. He starts off by being a bratty kid and insulting his father, believing himself to be the perfect racer. Then after running away from home, he learns somewhere down the line that he was wrong, but he can't go back now because he has the important job of a secret agent. While in the movie, even if it does play out fairly similarly, all of his actions are fairly excusable. In the original animation, there is no justification for what he did. He wasn't being hunted by anyone yet, he wasn't in a dangerous position, he just had too much ego. And an important thing to note about this is that the original anime had a lot to say about being self-centered. That is to say, it doesn't lead to anything good. And I think them removing this aspect of his character, it wasn't exactly a good thing for his character, which leads us to Snake Oil, a young adult racer around Speed's age, so like 18, 19, it's never stated, but look at him. Look at them. Come on. He meets his tragic end at the hands of his own ego and his distrust for others.
I'm gonna win. I'm gonna beat Speed.
He's confident that if you pay attention to the original Japanese episode, it's evident that he's not actually that much of a cheater.
俺は5番だ。俺は4番。公正なくじ引きだぜ。さあ、トップから行け。
Snake is genuinely just a skilled racer for the most part. Now, that isn't to say that he doesn't play dirty, and in the English dub, it does frame him as a cheater.
But they're tricky, Speed. They'll use every dirty trick they know to win.
アクロバット族はすごい技術を持っているからな。
So I can give them some grace to the movie on that foot. But, Movie Snake is basically just a new character with the same name. He's not even a part of the Acrobat clan or anything, which is weird because this entire portion of the movie revolves around racing groups. I mean, this would be the perfect place for them to show up, but whatever. Prince Kabbalah. Okay. I only threw this one in here because I have something really funny to point out. Alright. Prince Kabbalah is not the original name for this character, as is none of the characters' names in the movie, nor any of the names in the anime's dub. You know, they didn't really keep that around. Who knows why, honestly. But I want you to try and guess what the original name is. Go on, guess. The Incan Death. So, this guy's pretty obviously supposed to be Latin American, right? Obviously that means, in live action, he should be black. Obviously. And don't even get me started with that it's not important to the character crap, because the entire episode that he's in, and the character that he is, revolves around him being Latin American in the anime. I don't even know why they threw him in, if he wasn't going to be Racer X's mentor. Though, honestly, I feel like of all the Speed Racer characters that deserved a cameo in the movie, Skullduggery would be, like, number one on the list, but he isn't in there, so, you know. And finally, Speed Racer himself. Who was Speed Racer in the original 60s anime? People don't seem to be capable of answering this question honestly. Many people believe he is a violent psychopathic monster. But in reality, Go Mifune is just a simple young man. He's passionate about racing in cars, but he knows when his hobbies and interests are in the way of a greater cause. On more than one occasion, he quit out of a race or pulled himself out of it to help someone else. And don't even mention the episode with the guy's sick sister. That dude made it seem like he just wanted to help Speed to help him cheat.
あれは俺のパイナップルだ。いつの間に取ったんだ。くそ。俺は優勝したんだ。
ごめんなさい。本当は私がやったことなの。エリカさんのためだったのよ。
そんなことはないよ。僕のパイナップルは落としたんだ。
Why would you trust a guy who randomly asks you to fail a test on purpose so that he can have a best grade? Would you do that? No, you wouldn't. Even if he gave a sad backstory as to why would you trust this random dude? That's stupid. And if there's one thing to say about Speed Racer, he's not stupid. Yes, that's right. The movie's interpretation of him as being unintelligent is just dead wrong. Nothing in the anime implies he's an academic failure. He's actually very deductive and for the most part well-read. He can be dramatic, aggressive, and disagreeable, but he'll put his life on the line even to save people he can't stand. I feel like this movie is missing a lot of that, though I can give them kudos for having his main character arc revolve around the fairness and honesty of motorsports, because that's also very important to his character in the original anime. One aspect of the movie that extreme fans of the movie never shut up about is its anti-capitalist messaging. However, this messaging didn't exist in the original anime at all. Mach Go 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 actually has very little to say about economics, surprisingly, and a lot more to say about humanity. There are a good couple of crooks in Speed Racer who are just plain evil. Corrupt politicians trying to kill a good king or a good president, a racing group leaders who just want to cheat their way into a win. But a lot of Speed Racer's villains will also be fathers who think they're doing what's best for their children. Other young racers who want to win more than anything and let it consume their life and distract them from what's really important. People who've been led astray and wrapped up in dangerous situations that they don't know how to get out of. Humanity is an important theme of Speed Racer. Being a good person when it doesn't benefit you, helping others without forgetting yourself, being generous, being compassionate. Because even the people you don't like are still people. This movie has very little to say about that, from what I remember of it. But if I were to make a movie about Speed Racer, I think that would be the most important theme next to family. I know, people love the T180 cars, but I've seen it said before, and I agree that they kind of take away from what made the Mach 5 in the original anime special. I mean, replacing the Mach 5 with a Mach 6 is already kind of dicey to me. I mean, the whole show basically hinges on it. Mach Go 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 literally is a word pun based on the number 5, the character's name, and the word go. Of all things, I feel like the Mach 5 should be the star of the show, but sometimes, to me at least, it seems like the Mach 4 gets more love from the movie and its fans than the actual Mach 5 itself. But then, all of the other cars have all of the same special wacky features the Mach 5 had, and heck, most of the time they don't even use that special features that much. Basically just the auto jacks, which I guess isn't that indifferent from the show. The auto jacks are basically the star, but I'm sure you could sneak another water thing in there somewhere, or like the infrared lights, or the homing bird. Just saying, for a Speed Racer movie, I'd expect the Mach 5 to be one of the most important parts, that's all I'm saying. Another point I have, that's more of an issue with just the fans than the movie itself, but some people seem to think that Spritle and Jim Jim's involvement is unnecessary, which in my opinion at least, they actually did their parts efficiently. They played the same role Curio and Sanpei would have played. Like it or not, Speed Racer and its movies for kids. And kids want to see stuff with a monkey and a kid being mischievous little brats. They're really not that distracting from the plot or anything, honestly. Sure, some of the jokes they had made me roll my eyes, but that's really the biggest criticism I have with them. They should be there. Another thing worth noting, for some reason this movie takes place in an alternate version of the 90s where World War II never happened, which is kind of dumb to me. Like, first of all, why the 90s? The show was made in the 60s. The movie was made in 2008. Why not one of those dates? The 90s seems like a screwball time period. Also, imagine how cool a Speed Racer movie set in the 60s would be. Honestly, we missed out, guys. I'm just saying. Second of all, Mach Go Go Go's creator, Tatsuo Yoshida's life was pretty affected by World War II, and this does kind of affect how Mach Go 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 was written. There's a lot of post-war ideas about hope, as well as stories about loss that are weaved in as a result of this. I'm not saying it was a deliberate choice, because I kinda doubt it was, but I also feel like actively removing that aspect isn't exactly a great thing either. Most of this isn't really forward information either, so honestly, again, it's dicey if that's even true, but it also seems to be true, because they do mention that the race is like the 97 race, I think, which, with the way that the races in the show are framed, you know what, whatever, I'm not gonna get into that anymore. So why do people praise 2008 Speed Racer as an adaptation? I am of the belief that most people who say that Speed Racer is a great live-action anime adaptation haven't watched the original anime. They praise it as an adaptation of the anime genre, not of Speed Racer. I mean, even most of the people I've found online who claim to be Speed Racer fans have only watched the movie and aren't even at all interested in the 60s anime. And speaking of someone who's watched way too many animes from the 60s and 70s, the general vibe and aesthetic of Speed Racer, the movie, are more akin to a 90s anime, not a 60s one. Again, credit where credit is due. Compared to a lot of other live-action anime adaptations, it's actually just an entertaining, well-made piece of media. But it's not actually that good of an adaptation of Speed Racer as the internet might have you believe. (1997) Shin Mako Go Go, or Mako Go Go Restart, came out to an audience of none, primarily remembered only by big fans of the original anime. The first season is basically what you'd expect from Speed Racer: espionage, racing, missing older brother, the works. Then season 2 shifts the script, and suddenly there's a bunch of stuff about time travel, mecha battles, and evil future terrorists. At the same time, around the same time, Mako Go Go Restart released, there was supposed to be a remake of Gatchaman, or Shin Gatchaman, but due to the failure of Mako Go Go Restart, it was never finished. Mako Go Go Restart's Season 2 plot reminds me a lot more of a Gatchaman adaptation than it does a Speed Racer adaptation, which to me raises the question, is Mako Go Go Restart Season 2 actually the scrapped ideas for Shin Gatchaman? Now, there is no real way of proving this is true, but everything from the new characters, the storyline, and the designs all suggest that this is entirely possible. With that, I think this video is concluded. Thank you for watching, subscribe or something, and if you like 2008 Speed Racer, I just want you to know that this movie is not a slight against you or the movie. I enjoyed it. I just personally don't think it's a good adaptation of the 1967 anime Speed Racer. Bye-bye.
やれやれ飛び込んできた虫けらども皆殺しにするんだ少々このテレビはうるさすぎるようだ近所迷惑でいかん何